Over the last 2 years, I've worked with over 600 students in almost every genre, and the same mistake keeps coming up again and again. And it is a sure sign of an amateur mix. So I'm going to show you what that is and how to fix it in this video so you don't have to sound like an amateur anymore. There's nothing wrong with being an amateur. Just keep learning, keep growing, keep watching videos like this, and make sure you watch them till the end. So I want you to tell me if you can hear the difference between these two tracks. They're identical except for this one thing. One is a bit more louder, but a lot more distorted. The second one has a lot more clarity. Now, this is one of the sure signs of an amateur mix because this is improper gain staging. Gain staging isn't a number per se. It's actually a sound in the way things go through, but I'll show you how you can actually achieve that. Just remember that stuff sounds different at different levels going through it. This track right here is the track that we are listening to, and I only changed that one thing. So right now, it's sounding pretty rough. It's sounding pretty rough, pretty distorted, and the reason is I have too much signal going to the master bus. If I open up the master bus and take a look, we have a few plugins here. We have a compressor, we have a bit of Infected Mushroom Pusher, we have FGX, just a limiter, and then the last plugin is just how you guys can hear the audio. So I have a lot going on here, but if I just put a meter right at the beginning part of this, so before any other plugins, before the compressor, before any of these other plugins, and I take a look and see how much volume is actually going to the master bus, we'll be able to see if I'm clipping here. So you can see I'm sending a lot of signal. I'm sending like 4 to 5 positive dB of gain going to this before anything else. Now, a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people will say, well, that's okay because digital clipping doesn't exist. But it kind of does. Even though it doesn't clip going into the beginning of that, because everything here on our master bus is actually looking pretty solid. If we play this again and we actually look at the end here, we'll see that actually things are looking pretty solid. We're not clipping. We're at negative 0.1, which is a great sweet spot for mastering, in my opinion. But we're still getting that distortion because we have too much going on here. So even though we're not clipping going out of the master bus, we're clipping on the way in. And each one of these plugins work at a specific volume. So you probably heard you want to send -6 to -3 dB. Well, that's somewhat true. It's better than sending +6 dB to the master bus. It's really not entirely true. Every plugin sounds a little bit different with more or less volume going through it. So this is how I like to see what sounds the best. Gain staging matters, but it's not necessarily a number. So what I like to do is I like to go over to the master bus and I like to add some sort of gain plugin. So I'm going to use Mix Tool, and I like to put that at the very, very beginning, right before the level meter. So we'll open the level meter up. So then we're going to start turning the gain down until we start getting some clarity back in our mix. So down by like -7.5, it's actually working really, really well. And we can see on our meter here that we're actually getting like -3, -4 dB going to the master bus there. So I'm still getting that clarity. It's still sounding pretty loud, but I'm not completely distorting everything. Now, this is a quick fix, but what I highly recommend that everybody does is actually just select all of your tracks from beginning to end, and then just turn them down by that much. So you don't have to have that gain tool on there because you want to make sure that you're creating good habits when you're mixing. Now, if you've added some automation to channels and things, that's going to be a bit difficult. There's a way around that. I should probably make a video on that in the future. If you're interested in a video like that, let me know about automation and things like that and ways to work around that. But you want to make sure that you just grab all of your tracks, turn them down until you have a similar sound going to your master bus. Also, when we zoom in, look at how much detail we get back when we don't hit the master bus that hard. We can look and see the amount of detail that's actually being brought back in here. You can see these waveforms don't have these rigid edges that creates that distortion. That is distortion. This one down here is a lot more smooth, and this one up here is a lot more squared off, a lot more clipped, a lot more distorted. If you want to see a breakdown of a full metal song and get the stems for free, I'll leave a link to that down in the description below. That was really helpful for me when I first started because I could actually see what other people were doing and I was able to kind of replicate that. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'll leave a link down in the description. It's completely free. Otherwise, you're going to love this video here. Now, as always, go create.